Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Leap Futures Morning Leap session for Wednesday, March the 7th, 2018. My name is Doug McKay. I am the founder of Quantum Leap Futures. Each morning we get together in these live go-to sessions to take a look at the market, macro to micro, take a look at the structure of the market, and then we drill down to our trade levels, our targets, and our hypotheses. We do create multiple hypotheses. We do not know what the market's going to do. Therefore, we create two main hypotheses, which are our two main trade plans based on whether the buyers or sellers take control. And then we have two alternative hypotheses, which is our expansion or trend scenarios. This is a subscription room. If you're interested in checking it out, send me an email at quantumleapfutures@gmail.com. There's no website, there's no blog. This is not a commercial venture. We do everything here live in the go-to in the pre-market session. And then we do live trading and analysis during the course of the trading day. Please read through the disclaimer. Nobody at Quantum Leap is a certified trading advisor. We are retail traders operating within a self-organized learning environment. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and any trades that you see in Quantum Leap are for education purposes only. Please trade your own due diligence, your own trade plan, and your own risk metrics. Taking a look at yesterday's trade level chart, our main hypothesis was a rotational day. Hypo 1 was rotational with an upside bias. Hypo 2 was a rotational day with the downside bias. In Hypo 1, we were looking for an open auction out of range, a move down, and somewhere between the VPOC and the micro composite VPOC of 13, we were looking for responsive buyers to step in and rotate us up and actually take us up through, break out of the prior day range and push up into the 37, find sellers, and then start balancing around the high. That's essentially what we get. They dipped a little bit lower than I anticipated, and we didn't hold above the prior day range. They just kept us, and we fought the prior day range, and you see our VPOC ended up shifting up there and showing that we were battling that high. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad day. It was a little tough to trade because of the amount of choppiness, and you just have to pick your opportunities and hold through a lot of chop. Taking a look at the news today, of course, the overnight news was the news that Trump's advisor Cohen resigning. Market had a major gap down. I warned the room ahead of time that the Globex gap trade was not to be taken because of that type of news and about how big the gap was going to be. And we dipped down all the way down to 26.81 and a quarter, and then we've been working our way back. We have a broken Globex profile that you don't see very often. And the return to the scene of the crime on the news is going to be the close of that extended trading session up at the 27.24. In terms of news so far, we've had the 8:30 non-farm productivity and the ADP non-farm employment. It was a nice beat on the ADP. Trade balance came out bigger than expected, minus 56.6. Unit labor costs came out at 2.5. Bunch of Canadian news, but the big one being the trade balance was much better. It's going to be interesting coming up here at 10 o'clock and whether or not Canada is going to lead the way and increase interest rates. We're expected to see 1.25. If they do raise rates, that's a signal that could happen in the U.S. Although with these trade wars and all this news, I don't know if they're going to, especially with NAFTA coming up, whether or not they're going to go ahead and raise rates yet. At 10:30, we've got crude inventories, and 2 o'clock will be the next big one, and that'll be the beige book and consumer credit an hour after that. Other than that, it's all going to be about the headline news, and people are waiting to see who Trump is going to appoint to replace Cohen. And there's going to be a lot of rhetoric, a lot of talking heads today. So expecting volatility through the day. Taking a look at the macro to micro, I always start my day the same way. People say, well, why do you do this? I do this because it's a routine, and I want to make sure that I don't get my bias in the wrong direction too strongly. and take my eye off the bigger picture. The bigger picture, I use a 9 EMA, 20 SMA. I'm looking for slope and separation. How price is reacting to that? Do we have good slope and separation? Is the trend intact? Are we breaking below the 9 and challenging the trend? Are we breaking below the 20 and violating the trend? You can see the trend is very much intact. On the monthly, we don't even start to violate the trend until we get down between below the 2631. Going to the weekly, you can see that the weeklies are coiling. We've got inside weeks. We're creating this symmetrical triangle, building energy for another very big move out of here. Which way is it going to break? We have no idea. Some clues to each side. We're seeing a shorter time frame weakness in the market, but don't forget we've got those unequalized all-time highs up at 2878.50 in the Globex and 2875.75 in the RTH. But we are holding the trend right now. The 20 is sitting down here at the 26.85 1/4. Until that's violated, don't get your short hat on too strongly. On the daily, again, same picture. We're in these big volatile days. The 20-period full session average 2 range right now continues to expand. It is 61.54. That is generally close to a weekly ATR, and we're seeing that on a daily. That's a full session daily. We're currently, again, just sitting on top of the 20 SMA. The midpoint to this whole area is 2703.75. So you really want to pay attention to that, and that's really going to be our over/under line today. Going to the intraday into the 4-hour. You can see again, we're just going sideways, and no real trend intact on the intraday 4-hour, and then finally the 30-minute, and it's basically the same. Even with that big move down to the 2681, we've come right back up, and we're coming back up to fill this gap. And if you take a look at the overnight action, when I talk about the broken profile, it's very rare, and one of my favorite trades that has a very high probability is when you gap down. Now, usually the gap is only a point or less. You start looking for them to close the gap. So this is your ETH. This is your 4:30 Eastern to 5 o'clock Eastern extended hour session, and then you have your 6 o'clock. Eastern open. This generally, you don't see this very often where you have a broken profile. This is usually one solid profile. We do have that broken profile with the range low from the RTH session yesterday at the 2710. So we gapped down. You could clearly see it as they're there's huge orders, and it kept on getting moved. It started up at the 2707, and it just kept on moving down. We ended opening at the 2700, and then they just completely flushed it down to the 90. And then we sat in this 10-point range for a bit, and then Asia opened up, and we got the continuation down to the 81. Then they found buyers down here and rotated us all the way back up through. Looked like they were going to continue up and come up into the 10. They didn't. They came back down to the 84.75, and then the European session just sort of chopped us and started working our way back. And it looked like they were going to go and get inside of yesterday's range on that ADP news, and they failed to get in there, and we've moved back, and we're chopping right at that key line in the sand at the 2703.75. Again, that's the midpoint of that whole move down. So looking at the structure, oops. Looking at the structure, you can see that I've moved my microcomposite profiles around. I'm coming down from the breakdown candle. Usually when we go up, remember that we are targeting the 50% of the significant breakdown candle where we fell out of the balance that we were here. So we were looking for that move up. We've now come up and we hit that target. So I bring that profile in, and then I adjust my my microcomposite. So the microcomposite VPOC right now, the most traded price in this big chop zone, is at the 27.18. They tried to come up and hold value above at the 72, 73 area, failed, came down, and then our 3-day price acceptance or microcomposite VPOC is down here at the 77, 75 area. Found the buyers, rotated us, broke out of that balance, and come back into this this balance in around the microcomposite VPOC, and we've broken back in. Right above us is the 2707 and a quarter, and we're going to be fighting this 2703.75 and then the centennial number at 27. If we break below the 2700, key target below is going to be the 94.75, and if that doesn't bounce us, then look for them to push back down to the overnight low at the 81.75 and come back down. Remember that our year open is 26.75.75. That's the full session Globex open on the year. So taking our overnight, again, it's not an ordinary profile. You can see that we fought the centennial number at the 2700. That is our overnight Globex VPOC, and we're currently above it. I've already put my levels in here. We are going to gap down. So I'm going to be watching this over underline at the 2703.75. This should actually, I'm going to move this for a second. This should be moved up to 0750. Okay, and this is going to be our over underline. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to be looking for shorts below it into that Globex VPOC. And above it, I'm going to be looking for longs. Whoops, can I type? No, I can't. Above it, I'm going to be looking for the push up into the overnight high. The overnight high, we could see another overnight high. It's currently right now at 975. We still have lots of time for them to come up and continue to try to close this broken profile and the gap. Remember that the scene of the crime is all the way up at the close of the extended session, up at the 27.24. So above the 03s, I'm looking for them to come up and test the prior day range and move in. And then below, I'm looking for them to come down and hit this 2700. I'm going to be targeting, first scale down here at 2701.50, and then below the 2700, we still have that March 5th TPO single down at the 2696 with the target below at the 94.75, and then below that we have singles down here. The week open is 26.83 and a quarter with our overnight low. Now that's pretty far below us, but we don't know how the market's going to react in the RTH from the news. We saw what it did last night, but they're slowly taking it back. My bias right now, because of the overall trend, is still going to be to the upside. So I'm looking for Hypo 1, an open auction out of range. We're going to have a huge gap. So gap rules are in play. As we stand right now, if we open right here, and again, I'm going to have to adjust this because this is going to move based on the next 30 minutes or so. But our approximate half gap fill is 14 and a quarter right now, and that'll be adjusted on the open. Oops. So my hypo 1, open auction, out of range, a push down to test the 2700, and somewhere between the 2700 and the 94.75, I'm looking for buyers to step in, rotate us up through, come up into the overnight high, take out the overnight high, chop in the 2710, and then push up into the 14. Because of the fact that we have such a large gap, okay, I'm not necessarily thinking the gap is going to close. I think once we get up here in the 2714, we're basically going to chop up here between the 19 and a quarter and the 10, maybe a late day probe up into the 2740, but I'm expecting to close somewhere in here in the 19 to 15 area, in the teens basically. So that is hypo 1. Now remember, we have beige books, so we could get that late day probe. Hypo 2 is basically the opposite. Open auction, out of range, come up here into the 14 and somewhere between the 14 and the 19, maybe even push up into the 24, finding responsive sellers, rotating us down, coming down to the day low from yesterday, and chopping between the 2700 and the 2714-19 area and going sideways. I'm really thinking we're going to see a bit of a balancing day today. I don't think they're going to break out, but anything below the 0375s, think on the short side. Above, think on move up into closing the gap. On hypo 3, because of the fact that we had that big move down, my hypo 3 is going to be a breakdown day. Open auction, out of range, failure to close the gap, finding responsive sellers, rotating us down into this 94, 93 area, chopping, and then pushing through down to take out the overnight low, push to the year open, and somewhere down here in around the 74, finding buyers and basing, and then rotating us up and basically closing somewhere in the 2680s. That is hypo 3. Hypo 4 is an open test drive, wide opening swing. Buyers take control early, come up, fill the gap, chop in this 14 to 19 area, and then push up into the 2704, and then come up and close the gap up here at the 2726. With our 20 period daily ATR off of the low of the night of 2681 and a quarter, plus the 6154, our upside daily ATR, believe it or not, is up all the way at 2740, 2745. 2745.75. So we still have room to get above yesterday's range based on the average to range. And currently off of the overnight high of 2709.75, our downside daily ATR target is down at 2648 and a quarter. So you can see we have room and capabilities to expand this market down. Now, I'm not expecting that, but the idea is to have yourself prepared for just those type of circumstances, so you don't get completely caught off guard. 48.25. All right, so those are my hypos for the ES. Take a look at gold. Gold, as we talked about yesterday, found the bid, and we were looking at that 28 and a quarter as a key level. We held. We were expecting, if we accepted the 31.80 area, that we'd push up into the 39 again. We're here at the 39. If they can, they've come back a bit, in the overnight session, and we're coming back down into the 31. Watch this 28. That's going to become support again. If we break below it, look for the move back down into the 22 to 20 area, possibly even down into the 19. If we can hold this 31 again and find the bid again, look for them to come up. And if they come up into the 39, I'm expecting them to push through this time up into the 45 and test the upper side of this balance up here in the 49. Anything above that, the next big target above is up here at the 57. So that's going to complete our pre-market session. For those that are visiting us, if you want to come in and check the live room out, just send me an email at quantumleapfutures@gmail.com. Trade well, trade safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.